Well, hello everybody. Welcome to my brand new second channel. I'm Daman, and on this video, we're going to talk about the greatest constitution ever written by me, and I name it the Prime Constitution. I'm going to read out the bare article and then give an explanation. As a disclaimer, I am not a lawyer nor am I a political science student. I am an amateur enthusiast and it's a hobby. I'm not going to read through the entire document that I wrote, but I'm going to go through specific points that I would consider to be outstanding ideas. Okay, so part one, the people's main expression of power. We're going to be jumping to Article 2. It says, a permanent polling station. The state must establish well-staffed permanent polling stations, ensuring their proximity to voting individuals' residences. These polling stations serve several critical purposes. Section 1. Secure voting. Permanent polling stations provide a location where voters can cast their ballots with security. Section 2. Registration and record keeping. It is the duty of the permanent polling station workers to maintain accurate records of people within their constituency. They must automatically register any individual who has reached the voting age and ensure that newly minted voter ID cards reach the correct recipients. Section 3. Expression of public opinion. Permanent polling stations serve as a place where voters can express their feelings and thoughts on any subject matter. They can formally vote on poll questions drafted by unbiased independent entities. This ensures that representatives carry out the wishes of the general public consensus. It is my thought and feeling that having permanent polling station would be a great service for democracy in general. Practically, they will be responsible with record keeping in terms of voters and any kind of ballot initiative. Also, as a good point, having permanent polling station means that we would end up having professional poll workers where we wouldn't have to rely on volunteer every 4 or 5 years. It should be a space where it is secure. Going there, the permanent polling station can be a space where people can express their opinion as a poll, which will be an official thing so that a representative can understand what the people want, at least the active participant in the political democratic system, where people can just go there and vote on or express their opinion on certain subjects, whether that be internal policies or foreign policy. I see more benefits to having a permanent polling station than not having one. Moving on to what I would consider my most brilliant idea, Article 3, that says appointment by numbers. The electoral system known as appointment by numbers will be employed for the purpose of electing political representatives. Section 1. Systemic prevention of divide and rule. The system must systematically prevent political candidates and leaders from using the tactic of divide and rule to hold on to power. Section 2. Force outreach to constituencies. A systematic structure should ensure that political candidates and leaders are compelled to reach out to every person in their constituency to gain their votes. Okay, so that was the purpose of the appointment by numbers electoral system. Moving on to what that means. Article 4. Electoral terms duration based on vote percentage. The appointment by numbers process involves electing an electoral candidate into office based on the highest number of votes received from the total number of automatically registered voters. The percentage of votes tallied for the winner determines the duration of their elected term. Section 1. Attaining 25% to 39% of votes from the total registered voters in a location or constituency grants the electoral winner a one-year term in office. Section 2. Achieving 40% to 48% of votes from the total registered voters results in a three-year term for the electoral winner. Section 3. Securing 49 to 66% of votes from the total registered voters grants the electoral winner a five-year term. Section 4. When the vote percentage falls within 67 to 85%, the electoral winner will serve a seven-year term. Section 5. Obtaining 86 to 100% of votes from the total registered voters entitles the electoral winner to an extended 9-year term in office. Like, the thing I hate the most regarding the system that we have right now for most of the democratic countries out there is the idea of the winner takes it all system, where no matter how small a mandate a candidate gets, as long as they get 50% of the vote casted, most of the time they will end up being the winner. Even without a clear mandate, they get the privilege of representing people of a constituency or a nation. With the appointment by number system, the vote of the people who did not go to vote would matter in an election, because their non-vote would actually count to the tally of the vote count in a constituency, meaning that every misvote a candidate gets, it cuts to their to how many years they can serve in office. So, like, imagine if the leading candidate gets only 25% of the votes, of the total votes in the constituency. They will only serve one single year in office. So what they will have to do in order to gain more votes is to uh, do well during that 1 year that they get elected to office, and then while at the same time try to court more people into their camp to try to vote for them, so that the next year when election is called again, because election here is going to be dynamic and not on based on 2 year or 3 year or 4 year term, political candidates who are divisive will have a very hard time to get into office, because in order for them to win and stay longer in power, they will have to do outreach to just every single person in their constituency. So that alone, I think, adds a huge positive for this system. This system will reward candidates who are more conciliatory than divisive candidates, because there is an incentive to be a better candidate, to be a better leader, than to stoop to fear mongering. And I love the idea of our legislatures being more dynamic than having to go into a general election every 4 or 5 years. Because imagine there be election every single year at a set date in the year, where the composition of the legislature can dramatically change every single year. Imagine how leaders will have to respond in order to stay in power. Article 5 is about counterbalancing certain aspects of Article 4. So, skipping that, we'll go to Article 6. So, Article 6 is about the right to veto elected officials. The general public shall have the right to veto elected officials and remove them from office during specific moments in their term. There shall be two types of ballots, the vote and the veto. The power of the veto shall be defined and classified as follows. Section 1. Types of vetoes. Section 1A. Veto of an incumbent. This allows voters to challenge the continuation of an incumbent official. Section 1B. Veto of candidates. Voter can use this to express disapproval of potential candidates. Section 2. The veto power shall be available to voters at the permanent polling station. Note that the use of votes and vetoes is mutually exclusive. Section 3. Veto cancels votes. When votes are cast for candidates for a term in office, the veto will cancel out a vote. One veto nullifies one vote for a candidate. Section 4. The total number of vetoes against candidate will determine their future electoral prospects, but only after the number of vetoes exceeds the yes votes. Section 5. Consequences of vetoes based on percentage vetoes received. Section 5A. 39% to 45% of vetoes, a 3-year ban from running from public office. Section 5B. 46% to 52% of votes, a 5-year ban from public office. Section 5C. 53% to 66% of vetoes, a 7-year ban from running from public office. Section 5D. 67 to 85% of vetoes, an 18-year ban from running for public office. Section 5E. 86% to 100% of vetoes, a permanent ban from public elected service. Section 6. Impeachment powers. The veto power can be used by voters at any moment after the election of an official to remove an elected official from office who represent them. To impeach an official, voters must gain 60% of vetoes from the total number of voters. However, the impeachment will not ban from running for office. Section 7. Voters' veto right. The voters within a constituency shall have the right to veto any public official or public servant who fall under the same jurisdiction. Pursuant to Article 5, Section 5, this right allows a voter to remove such officials from office. I like the idea of the general public having the right or the power to veto a candidate or having the power to impeach an incumbent politician. Specifically in terms of the veto power, imagine you have candidates who's standing for an election and you do not like either of them, and it will be hard for you to either which one to vote. So in this system, as mentioned, you can either sit it out, or if you hate one of the politician more than the others and you do not wish to vote for the other, you can simply use your right to veto the candidate you hate the most. So basically, you reduce the chances of securing a bigger percentage of the electoral voters, basically denying them the ability or the chance to get a bigger vote share per chance. So again, it adds to the dynamic of the entire political structure. And we are going to skip Article 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Basically, I talk about land management and certain and local democratic practices. And we're going to go straight to Article 12 and on. This is Part 3, Structure of Government. We are going to have the obvious structural levels of government, as in Article 2, it says, the governance structure shall consist of 3 levels of government, local or common government, state, provincial or regional government, and the central or the federal government. So, Article 30, the voting Osset. The voting Osset shall adhere to Basic Rule Book of Organization. The Osset, comprising 8 members of the same age group, serves as a fundamental unit of community representation. This has several sections below it. And the basic and general idea behind this is, as an example, the local polling station will be given the responsibility to bring at least 8 individuals of the same age. When these individuals turn the age of 16, the polling station will be responsible to bring these 8 individuals together to form what I will call an Osset. The purpose of this Osset is basically to force a kind of friendship between a group within a community who are of the same age. Of course, individuals can deny, reject the grouping, but within this group, they will be given responsibility to take care of each other. As in Section 1, it says there will be a rotating presidency. The Osset shall be headed by a president who will represent the group. The president will rotate among the 8 members, with each member assuming the role for 1 month at a time. And Section 2, responsibilities distribution. Section 2A, judicial lead, responsible for dispute and conflict mediation within the group and legal outreach. Section 2B, finance lead, manages the group's financial matters, if applicable, that is. Section 2C, security lead, ensures the group's safety from internal and external threats. Section 2D, communication lead, handles internal and external information relays. Section 2E, welfare lead, ensures the mental, physical, and emotional stability of the group members, consulting or reporting to professional agencies if needed. Section 2F, outreach lead, reaches out to other Osset groups. Section 2G, culture lead, establishes and manages group tradition and events to strengthen ties and cohesion. And Section 2H, general admin lead. This person will basically be the manager of the group. We will be skipping Article 14 and 15. Article 14 talks about structure and function of the common or the local government, and Article 15 talks about the common jury court. As well as Article 16, we will be skipping Article 17 as well, as it talks about the electoral constituencies. And we are going straight to Article 18, political faction affiliation and political structure. Section 1, faction framework. Section 1A, the political system shall consist of 2 primary factions, the Union faction and the Federal faction. Section 1B, these factions transcend mere labels. Their ascendancy shall fundamentally reshape the political and administrative landscape. Section 2, party membership obligation. Section 2A, while multiple political parties may exist, each party member must explicitly choose to align with either the Union or the Federal faction. Section 2B, this affiliation decision is binding and cannot be altered until the member completes their term in office or resigns. Section 2C, importantly, the chosen faction determines the fundamental system of government, either federal or unitary. Article 19, legislative bodies. Section 1, suprastate parliament. The suprastate representing the overreaching entity shall establish a parliament. The parliamentary body shall deliberate on matters of national significance, transcending regional boundaries. Section 2, state assembly. Each state or region or province shall maintain an assembly, These assemblies shall be the locus of regional governance, addressing local concerns. Section 3. Representatives and proportional representation. Both the parliamentary and the assemblies shall comprise representatives. The number of representation ensures equitable participation from designated official constituencies. Political parties will still exist, and more likely multiple of them with varying ideologies. The main unique facet of this system is that political parties will have to declare or register which faction they want to be aligned with, whether they wish to be aligned with the federal faction or the union faction, which means that political parties that wish to align with the federal faction, when they come into power, the entire administration of the entire country, nation, or the government will change and transform into a federal form of government where the center or the federal government has less power. And when the union faction comes into power by attaining the majority of seats in parliament, the entire structure of the government will transform into a unitary form of government. As an example, when people vote for the parties that align with the federal faction and they come to power, the entire government will turn into the European Union. And say when they vote for the union faction, the entire structure of government will turn into that of the Indian style of federal republic. I imagine in a world when human finally begins to colonize planet, moons, and even asteroids, this system will come in very handy in terms of its flexibility, and so that the human species, in a way, the colonies that we are going to establish will not fight for their freedom with violence, instead attain their freedom or autonomy through political means. Article 20. The suprastate under union faction government. Section 1. Election and majority determination. Section 1A. Following an election conducted via the appointment by numbers voting system, the convened parliament shall officially vote to ascertain the majority within the lower house of parliament. Section 1B. Upon successful demonstration of majority, the outcome of the vote shall dictate the subsequent course of action. Section 2. Union faction dominance. Section 2A. When the union faction secures the majority of votes in parliament, its members shall exclusively possess the authority to elect Prime Minister. Section 2B. The elected Prime Minister shall assume the role of the executive or government head of the suprastate, endowed with all customary powers and privileges associated with the Prime Minister's position. Article 21. The Prime Minister's Government. Section 1. The government led by the Prime Minister shall be formally recognized as the Central Union Government. Section 2. The Central Union Government shall wield comprehensive rights to enact and enforce legislation pertaining to the central list, as well as the concurrent list. Section 3. In case of legal conflict between regional laws and central laws, the latter shall supersede the former. Article 22. The Upper House of Parliament. Section 1. Upon validation of the Union faction majority, an Upper House of Parliament shall be automatically established. Section 2. The Upper House shall consist of members representing 5 to 27 Lower House constituencies. Section 3. These members shall be appointed, not elected by an electoral college or body. Section 4. Additionally, regional government may appoint one member each to the Upper House. Section 5. The Upper House possesses the authority to deliberate upon and vote for or against legislature originating from the lower house. Section 6. No bills can attain legal status without passing through the upper house, except for money bills. Section 7. The upper house has the authority to return money bills for further consideration. However, once money bills successfully pass the lower house a second time, they automatically become law, regardless of whatever the upper house or the head of state gives their approval. Article 23. The suprastate under federal faction government. Section 1. Abolition of the upper house. Section 1A. Following an election where the federal faction secures the parliamentary majority, the upper house of parliament shall be automatically dissolved. Section 1B. In its stead, the Federal Executive Council will come into existence. Section 2. The Federal Executive Council. Section 2A. The Federal Executive Council shall comprise of all the head of governments from states, provinces, or regions. Section 2B. Functioning as a collective presidency or premiership, the Council will deliberate on policies and decisions, primarily relying on simple majority. Section 2C. Each council member shall possess a single veto for the duration of the council's existence. Article 24. The Parliament under a federal central government. Section 1. The lower house of Parliament, now the sole legislative body, retains the authority to legislate on matters within the central list and the concurrent list. Section 2. However, laws passed by this body shall no longer supersede or hold supremacy over state, province, or regional laws, except on the subject of defense, money, and foreign policy. Article 25. The Chief Secretary-General's Government. Section 1. The federal faction of Parliament shall exclusively elect or appoint a leader known as the Chief Secretary-General. Section 2. The Chief Secretary-General will serve as the primary link between the Central Secretariat, responsible for administering and coordinating all central agencies, and the Federal Executive Council. Section 3. While acting as a council's chairman, the Chief Secretary-General shall not possess voting powers. Section 4. The Chief Secretary-General's sole purpose shall be to execute orders and decisions issued by the Federal Executive Council. Article 26. Emergency provisions under Federal Central Government. Section 1. In times of crisis, as declared by the Federal Executive Council, the Parliament shall be vested with the authority to institute a united central government. Section 2. This extraordinary measure aims to safeguard the security and integrity of the suprastate. Section 3. Under this emergency arrangement, the Chief Secretary-General shall ascend to the position of Prime Minister. Section 4. The Prime Minister, thus appointed, will wield comprehensive control over the central authority list and the Parliament. Section 5. The Federal Executive Council, during this period, shall be placed in animated suspension. Its function and direct decision-making powers will be temporarily halted. Section 6. The United Central Government's tenure shall last for 6 months initially, and if deemed necessary, the Federal Executive Council may explicitly grant permission for an additional 6-month extension. Going straight to which faction would lean to the left and which faction would lean to the right, I imagined and I would assume that it would change with time and evolve. At first, I would imagine that most people who consider themselves to be on the left would prefer the Union faction rather than the federal faction, mostly because of the fact that they can all unite on one single banner, which is either global warming, universal healthcare, and all of those. While people who consider themselves to be on the right would prefer to be on the federal faction because mostly they would be able to ensure that they keep and maintain their power within their national territory and conserve whatever identity they would like to preserve. In time, I would assume that eventually blend together on either side of the faction, and I assume they would duke it up between each other on who will come out on top and control each faction. I think in the middle part, I would assume that there will be a lot of coalition deals between the left wing and the right wing on how they would control either faction. And at a longer time span, I would imagine people on the right would overtake the people on the left and take full control of the Union faction. Because by then, I would assume people on the right would identify with one single thing: Earth supremacy over any other planets there is or there are that human colonize and control. Skipping Article 27, Article 28, which talk about the breakdown of law and order in the state, province, or region, and going straight to Article 29, Auxiliary Member of Parliament, AMPs. Section 1. Regardless of the existence of the Upper House of Parliament, it is mandated that the Auxiliary Member of Parliament shall be appointed for the Upper House. Section 2. The members of the ephemeral Upper House of Parliament shall consist of individuals appointed by a College of Electors. Section 3. The College of Electors shall comprise individuals from all local common council within the 5 to 7 lower house constituencies that constitute the upper house constituencies. Section 4. The College of Electors shall adhere to the best practices when appointing individuals to the position of AMPs. Section 5. AMPs must have no known affiliation with any political party or faction. Section 6. Qualification criteria includes literacy, education, sound mental health, and non-ownership or operation of any for-profit businesses or work for any private entity or foreign government. Section 7. Preference shall be given to white-collar workers, academics, and similar professions. Section 8. AMPs shall serve a term of 6 years. Section 9. The purpose of AMPs is to represent their respective constituencies in the Upper House of Parliament. Section 10. Even when the upper house does not exist, AMPs must still be appointed regardless of retaining all privileges but with a smaller justifiable working budget. Section 11. AMPs shall represent their constituencies to various organizations, government agencies, and may even lobby the Federal Executive Council on behalf of the people they represent. Section 12. Upon the automatic reinstatement of the Upper House of Parliament, all AMPs shall become full members of the House with all associated privileges. Section 13. AMPs are not permitted to propose legislation. All legislative proposal must originate from the lower house of Parliament. Section 14. With the reinstatement of the upper house, heads of state government shall have the right to appoint one AMP each to the chamber. Section 15. Due to the proportional representation, some smaller states may need to share college-appointed AMPs with neighboring states. Section 16. AMPs appointed by heads of government shall lose their position when the upper house of Parliament is dissolved. Article 30. The Constitutional Family. The constitutional family, also referred to as the first family of the suprastate, shall comprise 15 members. These individuals, in a linear line of succession, will each assume the position of head of state during their lifetimes. Their tenure in this role shall be a single term of 4 years, after which they shall automatically retire from public office. Section 1. The position of the head of state is nominal and ceremonial, with real executive power vested in the Prime Minister or the Federal Executive Council. Section 2. Selection process for the constitutional family members. Section 2A. The members of the constitutional family shall be selected by the electoral conclave. This conclave shall consist of all elected members of Parliament, including the AMPs and the elected members of the state assemblies within the suprastate. Section 2B. The electoral conclave shall convene in a designated location and all members must attend this meeting either in person or send their proxies to vote on their behalf. It will be advisable that the two-thirds be proxies for security purposes. Section 3. Roles of the Guardian of the Green Line of Succession. Section 3A. The guardian of the green line of succession shall oversee the line of succession within the constitutional family. Section 3B. This agency shall be staffed by the technocrats and bureaucrats with its head or heads appointed by the government. Section 3C. The guardian's duty is to ensure the continuity of the line of succession, preventing any interruption. Section 3D. To achieve this, the guardian shall calculate when to initiate an organization to identify potential heirs for the line. Section 3E. The guardian shall issue a proclamation to every village, town, and city, directing them to organize a lucky draw using any system of their choosing. This draw shall involve the name of registered newborns and toddlers aged 0 to 6. Section 4. Selection of children for the constitutional family. The selection process for the children to join the constitutional family shall be as follows. Section 4A. Cities with large population. The selection shall be proportional, divided up into zones based on the number of inhabitants. Section 4B. 3 children each. Each location, each village, town, or city zone shall put forth the name of 3 children. Section 4C. A fair and transparent draw. The drawing of name from the lucky draw shall be conducted in a manner that is free, fair, and transparent. Any fraudulent acts during the process shall be criminally punished. Section 4D. All the lucky names selected shall be sent back to the guardian of the green line of succession. The guardian shall maintain records of their life progress, including milestones, achievement in various subjects, and other aspects of life until the children reach the age of 14. The guardian shall begin purging the name on the following criteria. Clause 1. Negative records. Children with criminal conduct shall be removed. Clause 2. Low academic achievement. Name of children with the lowest standard of academic achievement shall also be pruned. Clause 3. Voluntary exclusion. Children may plead not to be part of the selection process and their wishes shall be considered. Section 4. Health consideration. Severe mental or physical disorder that hinders social functioning shall lead to exclusion. Section 5. The remaining candidates shall form a smaller sample, ideally a few thousand and no more than 10,000. Section 4E. Updates and preparation. The children shall be informed of their standing in the evaluation process by the guardian and will have 4 years to prepare themselves for the final evaluation. Section 4F. Final selection. By the time the children turn 18, the guardian shall meticulously evaluate the candidates based on A. Academic achievement, B. Social achievement, C. Athletic achievement, D. Creative and innovative achievement, E. Personal accomplishment. Clause 1. Assigning standardized score points to each achievement and accomplishment. The guardian shall select the highest ranking children in consideration of the overall roundedness to proceed to a closer, thorough vetting process. Clause 2. Formal interviews and character evaluation shall be conducted to weed out any abusive behavior, traits, or tendencies, with personality traits and attitudes excluded from consideration. Section 4G. The final approval on this level shall be granted by the guardian of the green line of succession. Section 5. Final approval and selection of the heir. Upon approval by the guardian of the guardian shall select 14 names, 7 female presenting and 7 male presenting individuals. Section 5A. The electoral conclave shall be summoned. In a confidential manner, each member of the conclave shall receive a detailed report on all 14 candidates without revealing the identity of the children candidate. Section 5B. Non-fraternization rule. Conclave member must not interact with each other during the process when the report have been handed to them to prevent undue influence. Section 5C. Silent voting. In silence, each member shall cast a vote for the candidate they deem most suited. Section 5D. Elimination process. Clause 1. After the vote, candidates from the two genders with the lowest vote shall be eliminated. Clause 2. In the event of a tie, the chairman who serves as the head of the guardian shall cast the tie-breaking vote. Section 5D. Announcement Worldly Update. As the process unfolds, the world outside shall be informed by a simple ringing of a bell. Section 5E. Interval Rounds. This process shall repeat 6 more times, eliminating candidates until one female presenting candidate and one male presenting candidate remain. Section 5F. Final Presentation and Vote. Clause 1. Before the final vote, the guardian shall personally present the two candidates before the conclave. Clause 2. Each candidate shall receive material to read prepared by the guardians, ensuring a neutral platform devoid of any perception of campaign. Clause 3. In silence, the electoral conclave shall vote for the candidate they prefer the most after the presentation. Clause 4. Members may abstain if they choose. Clause 5. Either candidate must secure at least 51% of votes for a decisive outcome. Clause 6. If neither candidate attains the threshold, the conclave election process shall restart from the same batch immediately, with the 14 previously chosen candidates disqualified. Clause 7. The conclave is under no obligation to explain or reveal the reason for their votes. Upon the seventh vote, when the heir is chosen, the bell shall chime, announcing the accession of a new heir. Section 5G. Accession. Clause 1. Upon the accession of the new youngest heir to the green line of succession, the vows of silence for the conclave shall be lifted. Clause 2. The head of state shall be granted access to the chamber and immediately commence the process of swearing in the youngest heir as a high-ranking public official before the conclave. Clause 3. In the presence of the entire constitutional family, the head of state and the new heir shall publicly announce and introduce the new heir to the general public. Section 5H. Roles and succession within the constitutional family. Clause 1. Among the 15 members of the constitutional family, the 7 highest-ranking members, including the head of state, the first heir, the second heir, third heir, fourth heir, fifth heir, and the sixth heir, shall be considered the main working members of the elected family. Clause 2. After completing a 4-year term, the head of state shall automatically retire, and the first heir shall assume the position of the head of state. Subsequent members shall move up in rank accordingly. Clause 3. The guardian shall determine when to add new members to the family based on their calculation and foresight. However, the line of succession must never be less than 6 in the elected family tree. Section 5H. Impeachment Procedure. Clause 1. Members of the constitutional family below the 7th rank can be easily removed from the line of succession with a simple 45% vote in the lower house of parliament. Clause 2. For anyone above the 7th rank, the parliament must follow the impeachment procedures requiring a majority vote in the lower house, 2/3 majority in the upper house or the Federal Executive Council. Clause 3. Members of the constitutional family cannot be replaced when removed, but can only be added to the line of succession. Clause 4. The new heir must always be a year younger or more than the second last in line of succession. Section 5I. The youngest heir shall not be expected to fully assume the constitutional duty until they reach the age of 28. During this period, they shall have the right to reside in the palace of the head of state for learning purposes if they so wish. Section 5J. The 6 main heirs shall each be granted their own palace households across the specific region within the suprastate, and this distribution aims to better represent the head of state to the broader population. Section 5K. In case when the age gap between the head of state and the heir is insufficient, and the head of state is deemed too young, the Parliament shall possess the authority to extend the term of the head of state by 6 months, but no more. Section 5L. Opportunity for missed candidates. Individuals who miss out on the lucky draw still have a chance to ascend to the position of the head of state. Clause 1. First, they must be appointed as either the Prime Minister or the Chief Secretary General. Clause 2. Subsequently, they must participate in public polls securing 70% approval votes from the total number of voters. Clause 3. Upon achieving this threshold, they shall effectively hold the dual role of head of government and head of state. Clause 4. The reigning head of state shall be deposed, and the heir shall await the directly appointed or elected head of state to lose support in the lower house. Clause 5. After either the usurping head of state reigns, voted out or lose confidence, they shall have a chance to serve 4-year term as head of state only and shall vacate office after. The green line of succession shall revert back to normal, resuming its natural progression. Section 5M. If the directly appointed head of state loses 2 consecutive confidence votes in the House, they shall immediately forfeit both position of head of government and head of state. This process shall return the regular course of the green line of succession. Imagine in a world where there would be a chance for your own crutch goblin to become a head of state by random chance of birth, and you're not even a member of a royal family. For someone like me who is familiar with the difference between a head of state and a head of government, my view of a president or a head of state is that of an individual who is above politics. So in a way, I am basically combining a president, the position of a powerless president, with that of a monarch. I think they would be more revered than our regular powerless presidents in a parliamentary system, that is. Okay, moving on. Skipping Article 31A and 31B as I talk about education, and going to Article 32, Unofficial Line of Succession. The unofficial line of succession, ULS, system aims to complement official channels by identifying capable leaders beyond traditional systems. Section 1. Continuity in crisis. In the event of a catastrophic breakdown in modern civilization, the ULS will be helpful in ensuring competent governance by designating potential successors in all levels of society. We safeguard against emergencies. Section 2. Proactive leadership identification. Beyond crisis scenarios, the ULS track individuals with leadership potentials. These individuals may not hold formal position but possess essential skills and commitments. Section 3. Key component. Section 3A. Organization and credentialing. Clause 1. An independent body shall oversee the ULS. Clause 2. Credentials are issued to identify individuals signifying their inclusion. Clause 3. Top 10 individuals at each level receive certification. Section 3B. Levels. The ULS operate at multiple administrative tiers. Clause 1. Local, village, town, community, block. Clause 2. State, region, province. Top 10 within the state, region, province. Clause 3. Suprastate. Top 10 at the suprastate level. Section 3C. Point-based evaluation. Individual accumulating point based on criteria. Clause 1. Education. Points increase with each complete level of education received. Clause 2. Employment. Different work type yield varying points. Clause 3. Skills and know-how. Practical abilities. Clause 4. Achievements and awards. Awards given by recognized entities. Clause 5. Social work. Verifying volunteer efforts. Clause 6. Social trust. Advocacy for others. Section 3D. Algorithmic tracking. Clause 1. An algorithm maintains a database. Clause 2. Annually it assigns position based on points. Clause 3. Individual can check their status on the ULS website. Section 4. Transparency and outreach. Section 4A. top 10 individuals receive certificates and will be asked if their name can be published on the ULS website. Section 4B. Anyone can check their ULS position online and will be able to order a delivery of their certificate for a small fee. Section 4C. The names of all the top 10 individuals shall be shared with political parties, recognized NGOs, and top businesses for collaboration and advocacy. Article 33. Policing. The Threat and Security Level Scale (TSF scale) is established to assess the perceived threat and security condition experienced by the general public in specific localities. This TSF scale operates on a numerical range from 0 to 6, with each level representing distinct security condition. Section 1. TSF Level 0. Dismissal. Clause 1. At TSF Level 0, the populace perceive complete security and tranquility within their locality. Clause 2. If the TSF Level 0 persists for a continuous period exceeding 1 month, it triggers an automatic dissolution of the local police department. Clause 3. The dissolution entails the cessation of all police operation and the closure of police station in the affected area. Clause 4. Any investigation agencies will not be affected as well as their enforcing abilities in relation to their investigation responsibilities. Section 2. TSF Level 1. Call to Station. Clause 1. Activation of the police department occurs at TSF Level 1. Clause 2. Police personnel are restricted to a passive role unless explicitly authorized by a judicial warrant. Clause 3. Authorized activities include responding to distress calls and registering complaints from citizens. Clause 4. No arrest can be made without a valid warrant issued by a judge. Section 3. TSF Level 2. Vigilance Directive. Clause 1. Until TSF Level 2, the police department receives a directive to maintain vigilance and a heightened awareness. Clause 2. Authorized police personnel are permitted to patrol the streets within their jurisdiction. Clause 3. Engagement in any other law enforcement activities is strictly contingent upon obtaining an explicit warrant from a judge or responding to an active distress call. Clause 4. Arrest remains prohibited unless a valid judicial warrant is obtained. Section 4. TSF Level 3. Check up, check out. Clause 1. TSF Level 3 empowers police personnel to conduct thorough checks with residential area. Clause 2. Door-to-door inquiries are authorized to investigate suspicious or civil concerns. Clause 3. Police officers are permitted to provide assistance only with explicit permission granted during check-ups or check-out. Clause 4. Temporary arrest may be executed if existing circumstances necessitate immediate action, subject to the situation and legal parameters. Section 5. TSF Level 5. Hands-on examination. Clause 1. TSF Level 4 necessitates an active vote of 55% from the total number of registered voters. Clause 2. Police personnel are granted the right and power to make temporary arbitrary arrests within their jurisdiction. Clause 3. No civil under temporary arrest shall be transported to the police station for any policing procedures unless an explicit warrant has been issued. Section 6. TSF Level 5. Police Station 1. Clause 1. TSF Level 5 requires an active vote of 71% to activate. Clause 2. The police are authorized to make temporary arbitrary arrests in their locality even without explicit warrants. Clause 3. This level extends to private property as well. Section 7. TSF Level 6. Police State 1. Clause 1. TSF Level 6 becomes active when the active vote exceeds 89% of the total number of registered voters in the area. Clause 2. In addition to the power of temporary or arbitrary arrest, the police are granted unrestricted access to private data, including electronic devices and private documents. Section 8. Voting and Implementation. Clause 1. The TSF levels shall be presented as a candidate option on the ballot for individuals residing within a police jurisdiction to vote upon. Clause 2. Investigation agencies and their enforcement capabilities related to investigative responsibilities remain unaffected by the TSF levels. Section 9. Duration of active votes. A civilian's vote for a specific TSF level shall remain active until either retracted or overwritten by an updated vote from the same voters. Section 10. Transparency and access to information. Voters shall have convenient access to privacy protection information, enabling them to verify their chosen TSF level. Section 11. Investigation triggers for TSF level 0. If the votes for TSF level 0 surpasses the threshold of 76% of civilian votes, an independent investigation into the police department shall ensure. The purpose of this investigation is to address any underlying issue that may have prompted the public to vote for TSF level 0. Section 12. Recall and personnel eligibility. Upon recall, personnel from the dissolved department shall be ineligible to reapply for a position in the new department. And that is where I end the Constitution, giving the people the power to decide how they are policed. My philosophy and my idea for writing this Constitution is quite simple. It's all about advancing democracy, on how we find ways to democratize. Okay, so ending it here. I'm tired and exhausted. My tongue is dry, my mouth is dry. So, ending it with, if you're interested in the entire document that I've written, you can buy the full copy of it from my Patreon. If you like to support me, please do buy it. I'm poor, give me money. Anyway, thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions or any opinions you wish to add, you can drop a comment down below. And goodbye until next time. Oh, yes, I have an idea to write a constitution for the Game of Thrones. I think that sounds interesting. I think that would do well. Goodbye.